Howdy besties, welcome back to the Running with Anna New podcast where we talk about all things writing. In today's episode, it's a bit of a longer one where I'm going to be chatting all about questions and Q&A. I don't know why I kind of had a mind blank right then. I am going to be answering some of your questions that you guys asked me on my Instagram. Definitely go follow me on Instagram. It's _AnnaNew. I post there very frequently and do a lot of writing updates as well. So definitely follow me. However, let's go ahead and get straight in. Just grab some tea, sit down, and let's talk writing. Okay, so the first question I got, which was really, really funny, and someone just asked simply, how do I progress? And I've never heard something more relatable than that. I have had a lot of struggle, especially like last month, I think, in progressing in any of my novels. I don't know if you guys have updated or have been updated where I have actually kind of been pivoting between all my novels in a way that has meant I have no progress in any of them because I keep jumping around. And I thought long and hard about this first question, especially because there's lots of different things I can say and some things that might not be truly helpful. But honestly, the way of progressing through a book is simply getting words down on the page. And I think maybe look at some reasons to why those words aren't going. Even if words are going on the page, for example, with Project O for my book has not been progressing. Like the actual plot has been like so slow, but that's okay. And there's a lot of different advice I can give you for trying to, progress through your book and get words down. But I think honestly, just being excited about your book and maybe understanding that if you're not progressing in this novel, look at two different things. Look at one, am I actually excited about this book? Should I maybe actually start a new book or just put this one on the shelf because I'm not that excited about it, or I don't want to work hard for this novel at this moment in time, which is totally fine. Or you can look at second, I physically can't write any sort of book, no matter if it's this one or not. In that case, if you can't write, just relax because I honestly have realized that the way that I write, I'm a mood writer. I'm a mood eater. I'm a mood watcher. I'm a mood everything. So if I'm not in the mood to write, I don't write. And I think it's very dangerous when you get into this negative headspace if you're forcing yourself to write, because in a way that kind of creates this sort of hostility towards writing, because then it feels like a job. It shouldn't feel like a job. So I think maybe think about those things. Sorry, that was a really long answer. I'm gonna hopefully do some more fire answers. Someone asks, what can I do when I'm done plotting but I can't start my novel? This question I was extremely confused about because for me, plotting is the hardest thing I do. And as soon as I plot, I want to write my book. I want to be like, yes, I finally have done the hard yards and now I can finally write my book. But this lovely writer seems to have trouble the opposite. Maybe plotting for them is easier and actually writing might seem a lot more daunting, which is totally, totally fine. And I do understand how that could be the case. So as a means of advice, I would probably say simply just start the first chapter and then start the last chapter. Like write the first and last chapter of your book, and hopefully that will encourage you to kind of understand and gauge the length. Because I guess maybe the length of the novel, or maybe you don't know how to write it, or you're kind of confused in the sort of tone you should use, or if you're going to be able to do it consistently through your book and foreshadow things well. Writing the first and last chapter might kind of, quell those fears. So maybe try that out. Okay, next up we have, how do you stay confident in your writing journey? This is an extremely important question, and a lot of questions were kind of around confidence and writing confidence. I think honestly, confidence comes simply from practice. And I have said this before where what's that sort of idea that if you come up with 100 ideas, the 100th idea is going to be better than your first idea. So in terms with even novels, my old books are very bad. But I've come up with new books and I've written books and And I've come to a part in my writing career which I'm confident in my ideas, and I feel that they are good and that they are worth being written. So I think with that, like on the back of that, make sure you actually finish your books. Don't like this is one of the biggest things that can kill your creativity and your confidence is if you don't test out your ideas and actually finish them, finish your projects. That kind of like gives your it just like is not a good relationship with your books and your ideas because you're kind of just like back palming them. You're just like sending them away and just like hopefully coming up with a new, better idea, which like you should finish your ideas and you should try to have faith in your ideas, even if they do seem terrible. You're going to learn so much skill from that and from learning from your mistakes and simply by just having better ideas. Like that's something that definitely will come with time. Okay, next up, we have how to move your plot along. I am extremely an overwriter and need to move my plot along. Okay, so this awesome writer seems to have trouble with getting their book, which is actually exactly how Project O is going for me, and I totally agree and I understand you. You are not alone. I think the honestly, one thing that honestly gives me encouragement, and actually I'm allowed to see where my plot is going, is simply by bullet pointing. Sorry, I just like, sorry. Anyways, bullet point like below your chapter what's going to happen in the next one, and then in the next one, and then the next one. Like this helps you conceptualize your ideas as specific points and say, my chapter needs to do this, this, this. Maybe try to do it like 3 points, like the characters meet this person, then they find this relic, and then they try to escape when, I don't know, there's a storm. Like those three things in one chapter. Like try to keep it very specific and try in a way to like keep things rolling, and to keep things rolling is creating action. So, that example of that person meeting this character, like that's an action. Don't fall in the trap of just redundant scenes that don't, where the characters don't move. So, an idea, of course, that I've said in a lot of my videos of how to plot is scenes and understanding settings and just like make something crazy happen, like a storm or like a weather change, or maybe like a character gets killed. Like do something radical. And sometimes you might be like, Anna, that's weird, that's not part of my plot, but just do it and maybe your book can seem better. I don't know. Hopefully that helps. Okay, someone asks, how do you spice up your writing instead of just plainly describing things? Very, very interesting. I think this is, again, it comes with time and it comes with skill in terms with explaining things. One tip is, of course, to read books and to just practice describing things. Something that I like to do to enhance my skill as a writer, just generally in terms of my description and writing and tone, is to write short stories. Short stories are very, very popular, like forms of, like, it's hard to explain. Like they're very pinpoint in what they're trying to do, and since they're so short, you're gonna have to limit your words and explain things in a way that's catching. So you're not gonna describe the scene like for a whole page. You're not going to have time for that. So you need to pinpoint specific things. And by pinpointing specific things, it makes things more distinct and therefore hopefully more descriptive, because good description doesn't mean describing everything. It means pinpointing things that are worth describing. And I think that's really powerful. So hopefully that can help. Okay. How do we improve our vocabulary? I don't know why I said it like that. How can we improve vocab and learn new words daily? Of course, reading's good. Writing, just writing essays, honestly, like the law and essays. I just finished my philosophy essay, 60% of my grade. It's 2,000 words, which isn't a lot, but I always overwrite essays. I always overwrite like like projects that I don't want to write. When like for writing, like writing my books, I underwrite so much. But anyways, that's 60% essay. I was up like at 1 a.m. and I submitted it because I could not do it for another day. So yeah, just writing in general, just living, um, and hopefully just using this thesaurus. Like thesaurus is my favorite thing in the whole entire world. I literally have a physical thesaurus that I kind of just like read sometimes. And I think there's there's power in actually understanding how words link, more so just distinctive words. And expressing things through metaphors as well. So vocabulary doesn't have to just be words specifically, but expression and things like that. So maybe just read the dictionary, read thesaurus, and it will just automatically come as you grow as a writer. So great question though. Okay. Someone asks, which is a really interesting question, how are you not embarrassed to write in front of other people? And I think they kind of mean like, how am I not embarrassed about sharing my writing? Um, I do sometimes get embarrassed, but that's after I explain. I think in a way, the way I am as a writer is my excitement precedes my embarrassment. Does that make sense? So basically, because I'm so excited about something, I'm just like, I'm just gonna tell it. I'm just so excited. And then that's when I get embarrassed. So I still end up getting embarrassed, but I think, as I said with a couple of the other tips, simply your practicing, um, also just practicing talking about your ideas to yourself and to other people is like an important skill, because when you think about it, how are you going to sell your book to a publisher if you can't even talk about it in a normal conversation, which it's totally fine. I'm really bad at explaining my whole book because it's all in here, and then I explain things and they're like, what? Like, they're like, who's that? And I'm like, what? I already explained that. And they're like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, oh, it's probably just in my head. So yeah, I think just somehow getting a clear idea of your book and having faith in your idea as well. And again, as I said before, you're going to get better and better ideas as you make new and new ideas. So, yeah, just having a clear, concise idea of what your book is and also the meaning behind your book. That's a good tip for actually getting motivated and having faith in your novel, because if you have a purpose in that book, you're going to want to write it. Therefore, you're going to have more confidence in wanting to write it and wanting to share it. So I think having a clear idea of why you're writing that book is a good thing to start out as. Because of course, like if you want to share something, you can't be embarrassed about it. Um, you gotta be strong sometimes. Okay. Someone asks, I still don't know how to balance writing with school. I did a video on this, which I do recommend you guys check out. I'll have it in the iCard if you're on my YouTube channel. But this is a big thing, like writing as a student. I'm a law student. I've not, like, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have not written my book in, I think, a whole week. I've not touched my document because I've just been working on this freaking stupid essay. So yeah. So I don't know this answer. I did explain it a little bit in that video I mentioned before. But I guess one quick little tip is to write at school. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Yeah, I used to write like before my classes, especially in high school, but I write also before my like classes. I don't write during my classes anymore because I need to actually focus in my like law classes and stuff like that, but I write definitely before. And I think also a weird tip is to procrastinate by writing. Like procrastinate your assignments by writing your book. Because when you think about it, would you rather write an assignment or would you rather write your book? Yes, yes. So that's a good way to motivate yourself to write when you don't do that, but it works, hopefully. Okay. Someone asked for tips for underwriters. Honestly, the one thing that I want to say here is that I'm an underwriter and it's good to be an underwriter. It's good. I think people always get scared. Sorry if the lighting has changed also, but I feel like people get really scared about underwriting because they feel like their book isn't long enough, isn't, compelling enough because of its length. But I'm like, what the heck? Like, I love short books because I honestly think if you're an underwriter, someone who writes shorter novels or novellas, you, in a way, are more concisely writing a story. And I think there's something more powerful in the way that I love reading novellas, and probably why I love writing novellas is simply because there's so much scope for the reader to fill in. I hate long books that explain every freaking little thing, even like the backstories. But I love stories that keep that in the dark and make your reader wonder. And sometimes it also means less work for me. So that's good. And also the fact that I was actually explaining this to one of my friends who isn't a writer. And I was saying how I like to keep it in the dark because I like to imagine different things to how my characters ended up or how they were back when they were a child. And I sometimes get like I don't like to get caught up in like firming things down because I like, my lives of my characters to be something that I can just think about and not something that is in reality. And that can allow for potential for, I don't know, like it's not like I'm going to write a new book or another book or a sequel, but it's just something nice for me to think about and not to be tied upon. And it's also just not relevant to the book. So I think as an underwriter, don't be insecure or don't think you need to write more. I feel like overwriters need to check their check their books. Okay, let me see any other good ones. Oh, tips how to make your first chapter catchy. Very good question. I don't know if I have done. Maybe I have done a video about how to write your first chapter. The main thing is to start with action. Start with something crazy. Something crazy needs to happen, and then in chapter 2, kind of um, lays low a little bit, kind of like stops and slows down. But I think like having the first chapter, it's really important to set the tone and the pace of the book in a way that is really just like exciting for the audience, because in order to get someone to read past even the first page, you need something to be happening. So always try to make something actionable happen. For example, for Project BB, my the book opens up with my main character robbing from a kingdom, robbing from the castle, and she's slinking around, and then she gets caught by the end of the chapter. That sort of like big momentum like moment. And sometimes a lot of people plot in a way that kind of leads up to that starting point. Just start there. Just start there. And I think that's what really makes a good chapter, is where your story is just like so bang. It's like a punch. You know what I mean? So yeah. Hopefully that helps. Um let me see some other questions. How do you overcome the loneliness that sometimes comes with writing? I did do a video, maybe a podcast episode on this, where, yeah, I was talking about loneliness and how lonely it is being a writer and someone who just doesn't have a lot of writing friends or friends in general. I have you guys, which is my heart. Thank you. Loneliness. How do I overcome it? You can't really overcome loneliness apart from getting friends, I guess. I don't even know. Loneliness is something that, like, you can't help it. Like, if you're an astronaut, for example, that's just your occupation. You know what I mean? So when you're a writer, you're always going to be like alone. No, you're not always going to be alone, but like no one's going to write that book for you. It's not like a collaborative effort. It's not like a team sport. So I think coming to terms with the what's it called? Solidarity. I can't. I know there's a cool word for it. I'm just going to go with isolation. The isolation that you need in order to come up with your ideas, the quiet you need to be able to express your ideas and actually put them into words. It's just how the creative process works. Unless you're like co-authoring, which still you're going to have to be on your own. And I think a way to combat it is to watch my videos. I'm kidding. Get writing friends, even though it's really, really hard. Come to my Discord. If you want to write with people, which will help combat loneliness, because I'm lonely too, come to my Discord. It's all linked down below in my YouTube channel and basically everywhere. And I write every single Wednesday with you guys, every single morning. At least where I am, it's usually nighttime for you guys. So come along. Come along. Okay, let's see. Next few questions. Let's do like 3 more. Okay, someone asked, what is the most difficult part of writing a book? And how do I overcome it? What do I think is the most hard thing and challenging thing about writing a book? I mean, the one thing that came to my head right now was simply writing, and that's something that a lot of writers make fun of, but it is true. Physically writing is so hard for me. It's so hard. Like I love having ideas. Like ideas are fun. If I just had like a twin who could just write the books for me, I would be sweet, man. Um but anything else? Hmm. I think I talked about this in my last episode, which was very, very good. My cat is just so cute. Oh my gosh, she's asleep and her legs just like went wee because she was stretching. Anyways, what was I saying? Yes, yes, yes. Something about. Sorry, my brain's a bit. Okay, well, yeah. In my last episode, I was talking about simply how, my ideas and the way that I think about ideas is so different to how they're executed and how they look in my actual book. And that's what I sometimes struggle with. But I think sometimes it's important to separate those two different things, but also not to. Like, I've always said, or at least I've always believed that, it's a whole process and your book is just like a building. It's like a layer of onions. I don't know why I picked onions, but like it's like a layering thing and it's all the same onion. It's just different layers and a different it's just a process. But also sometimes it's important to separate different processes of your writing. For example, like draft 0 from draft 1, or you're plotting with, your last draft. It's obviously going to be different, and sometimes I struggle with seeing that and cutting out scenes that I love, or adding characters, maybe not adding, taking away characters. Usually like I get really attached to my first draft, and it's very hard for me to get away from that and to actually love my book, because I keep thinking about all the different versions it had. And I remember talking to my friend Tiana about it, and she's like, it's okay, like your first draft will always be there. You can always come back to it. But still, like for me, I can't separate it sometimes, but I'm trying to. I'm trying to separate it. So maybe that's something like that. Okay, last question. Let's see. Someone asks, writing playlist songs and recommendations. Yes. Honestly, I don't really write with too many songs. The only really song recs I can give you is Phoebe Bridges. I love Phoebe Bridges and Boy Genius. Like honestly, sometimes I listen to just my playlist when I write, which has nothing to do with my book. But especially, I think Phoebe Bridges has that sort of like any of her songs, like Funeral, Chelsea. Chelsea actually inspired one of my books. The end of Scott Street inspired the train scene in Project Ghost, which is really, really cool, because at the end of the song there's like a doo doo of the train, and that's how I actually got the idea of like, oh my gosh, I should jump across train tracks. Um, so yeah, I think Phoebe Bridges. I'm just gonna say Phoebe Bridges, baby. I love Phoebe. I freaking love her. I would marry her if I could. But yeah, I guess that's the end of the Q&A. I hope this helped. And thank you so much for all those who asked some questions. Sorry I couldn't answer them. I have like all of them on my iPad because I'm filming with my phone. But yeah, it was so fun. But I hope you guys are having a beautiful day or night or whenever you're watching this. And please definitely check out my Instagram and my Discord. And also, I think I want to also start doing lives on my YouTube, because I know you can do like lives on like your story thing. So it's kind of like Instagram lives, but I think more people are on my YouTube. So maybe I'll start doing that every single week, just to kind of catch up with you guys and do some writing or just like relaxing time. When like, for example, Discord, it's more chill on Discord, honestly. So maybe I can do like weekly Q&As or like weekly writing advice. That could be cool. That could be cool. Not me like brainstorming in the middle of a podcast episode. But anyways, I love you guys, and I hope to see you in my next writing podcast. I was going to say writing video. Technically, it is a writing video, but yes, thank you, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.